Welcome to FDVN's channel. In today's video, we will introduce the new lesson, Debt Financing, Secured Lending. Listen carefully and fill in the blank. Granting security. Usha Patel, a company lawyer, is advising Patsy Nielsen, the director of her client company, Rosy Glow Cosmetics Limited. The client wishes to acquire and equip new business premises which are offered for sale, together with an adjacent unit, for a price of £280,000. W. Jones Bank has offered the company a loan of £300,000.
I see that the bank's facility letter makes the loan conditional upon the grant of a debenture to include a floating charge over all the company's assets, so anything of value belonging to the company. There's also a first legal charge over the property, which is like a mortgage. I suppose that's not surprising given that there's a shortfall, a gap, between the purchase price of the property and the total of the loan. Have you had a valuation yet?
A survey has been done, we're waiting for the report. I actually suspect that the valuation will be slightly higher than the agreed price, because the seller's in financial difficulty and wants a quick sale.
Well, we'll see what the valuation comes out at. If it's really close to the £300,000, I think we should try to persuade the bank that they'll have adequate security without a floating charge over all the assets. As I recall, the company has a pretty high asset value with your existing machinery already. It may be that the bank will agree to go with a debenture which is limited to a charge over the freehold, that's your absolute right to hold the property or land without paying rent, and a fixed charge over the machinery. Now, the company hasn't granted security before. Are you familiar with the concept of charges?
Not very.
Well, if the debenture is granted at the same time as completion, that's the final stage in the sale of the property, it'll include a mortgage over the freehold property. This is effectively a transfer of the title to the property to the bank as mortgagee, subject, of course, to an obligation to transfer it back on repayment of the loan. The fixed charge will be over other property interests and will usually include shares, goodwill, book debts, and machinery. This means that in the event of default, the charged assets can be appropriated by the charge holder, who's a secured creditor, to be sold in order to recover the sum secured.
Two, complete the definitions. Look at Part 1 to help you. 1. Grant a floating charge. Agree to secure the changing assets of a company, for example stock, not any specific asset. 2. Grant a fixed charge. Agree to secure a particular asset, for example equipment or property. 3. Grant a debenture. Agree to a document in which a company acknowledges a debt in exchange for security over the company's assets specified in the document. 4. Grant security. Agree to guarantee repayment of a loan by charging assets or property in favor of the lender. 5. Grant a mortgage. Agree to a document transferring an interest in land or buildings as security for the payment of a debt. Three, complete this extract from a law firm's website with words from the box. Look at Part 1 to help you. A company may be funded by a loan, for example from a bank, on which it pays interest and for which repayment may be guaranteed by a charge or a mortgage on one of the company's assets, for example a building or land owned by the company. This is certified by a document generally called a debenture. Debenture holders are creditors of the company. If the company becomes insolvent, that is, unable to pay its debts, debenture holders are entitled to priority over non-secured creditors to receive repayment. Debenture holders are normally secured by a fixed charge over specific property. Assets which are of a more changeable nature, such as vehicles, cannot be secured by a fixed charge, so a floating charge may be used. If the company defaults, its assets may be seized by the secured charge holder.